Tell us about server to server, why that's important, and sort of why the companies come out with this and the demand of the industry that you're trying to fill.
Yeah, this has actually been a pub-driven development. Like a lot of publishers have been hyper-focused on latency because they're now considering the trade-off between latency, user experience, and revenue. And there's also been more and more talk in the industry about header bidding has helped publishers make a lot more money, but it's also putting more and more code onto the page. And especially on mobile or app or video, you don't want all that extra code on page. So server to server takes all the work that used to be done on your browser or my browser. Instead of putting onto the client side, it pulls it all back onto Index's infrastructure. So it gives publishers a lot more control and takes a lot of the onus off the user and back onto the ad tech firms.
So server to server is not a brand new concept, of course. So tell us about your flavor and why you think it'll work out.
I think that's been one of the more interesting things. It's like server to server, right? It's everyone thinks it's something brand new, but you're right. This is something that's been around for years. We've actually done server to server for years for ourselves with many different publisher-driven ones. What we've looked at, and I think there's two main flavors. There's been ones in market like Google and Amazon, but I think for the other ones were publisher-driven, so it was actually publisher-built. What we decided to take is one that took the best of both. So we actually wanted it to be fully transparent to both the bidders, like AppNexus or ourselves, as well as to the publishers. So they know the auction dynamics, they know the fees, they know exactly how everything's working, and it's all laid out with reports and log files. For us, and I think this has been one thing a lot of people have argued in the trade press recently, is how you run the auction. We decided to go with a first price auction. So really, it's entirely the highest net price to the publisher is the one that wins. Everyone's treated neutrally, so it does maximize the revenue for the pubs.
So tell us about the integration with AppNexus, what that means.
Yeah, this has actually been pretty exciting. We've got a good partnership with AppNexus, and we thought, how do we make sure that publishers aren't bearing the brunt of two ad tech firms either working out their differences or working out the challenge between the two tech platforms? So AppNexus and Index got together and decided, how do we actually make sure we work really well within our ad server and their server-to-server offering. So everything works technically, it performs very well. Then if any other publisher says, hey, will Index work on it? We say yes, and we can work right away. And the flip side, AppNexus is doing the same with us. That way, our server-to-server offering, they work very well in it. The performance is good, and all the technical problems all worked ahead of time. So on day one, they perform quite well within our solution. So the publishers don't have to pay the brunt of two ad tech vendors working, which definitely does happen in our industry. So we're trying to avoid that.
So tell us about how things are shaking out in the industry in terms of the opportunities for publishers to compete in their own terms, to have their own solutions, and some of the tensions they're in.
I think things have changed a lot, even in the past 6 months. The pubs now realize they can have control, right? They should have choice, they should have control, and they're going back to the exchanges and say, no, this is how we want to do it. This is the latency we want. This is how things should be run. With us, the way we structure our offering, which is quite different, is it's not just server to server. Pubs can actually run both client side, like traditional header bidding as it works now, as well as server to server at the same time. So let's say if they want to run AppNexus on both the client side and the server to server, they can compare performance, figure which actually works best with them, and keep that one. So it's really not mandatory to switch everything to server. Same for latency. If a publisher wants to experiment on one side and have a really small amount of latency because it's mobile web, and then find out, well, it's actually giving up a lot of revenue because no one can respond in time, they can actually play with different latency windows on the client or the server and find that ideal mix of that user experience, the performance, and revenue, which is key.
And finally, Drew, tell us a little about video in the Index platform and how much video, what's going on the video side.
Video has actually been really key for us, and it was pub driven, because once the pubs did enough work with header, they actually realized, hey, I'm getting a real revenue uplift for this. And for video, it was really prime for that sort of real-time competition, because a lot of the video networks out there are like old school ad networks. They get a fixed price, and you're hoping you make a good amount of money on it, but it's heavily arbitrage. What we've done is we've got an easy header solution for video that we have right now that'll bring that real-time competition in, but then server will be coming out with it soon, so they can tap into a whole bunch of different video demand. Video is a little different because it's performant heavy, and you really have to have a lot of infrastructure to be able to handle it along with server to server. So we've done a lot of investment, just like we did for server to server coming up, to take the work off the client and put it on the server so it's fast and also very stable, because video is expensive. You don't want your wrapper ever going down.